I'm Tony Kornheiser, Betty White.
What?
But nowadays I make her wear a life preserver.
I was going to say that was a 1960s answer at best.
That was a great answer. I wear a life preserver also in a pool at this point.
We should just mention to our younger viewers, Betty White was a glamorous
Yes, she was.
woman
Yes, she was.
for a long time.
Yes.
So people look at Betty White now, they want to make jokes. Betty, come on now.
No, she's beauty.
Yeah.
It
was a minute. It was a minute.
It's a ways back. A ways back. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Duke is the big favorite. The Sixers send a message to the Bucks, and the Dolphins hope for more Fitz magic. But we begin today with the tournaments. The big headline is that three teams from the same conference, the ACC, have been given number one seeds: Duke, Virginia, North Carolina. This is only the second time in history this has happened. In 2009, Louisville, Pittsburgh, and Connecticut, then all in the Big East.
But they weren't really the Big East.
Were given number one seeds.
Louisville.
That year, North Carolina, the other number one seed, won the tournament. Well, Bon, are you okay with three teams from the ACC getting number one seeds?
I guess so, Tony. I think I concentrated less on that element of the tournament field being announced than I ever have before. One, I don't even understand, like most coaches, and I love the coaches who admit it publicly, I don't even understand what they've done, net, gross, quadrants. I don't get it. I think it's still flawed. You have teams who are ranked in the 30s, like Clemson, I think, and NC State, and they're out. Team like St. John's, 71 in. So it's still subjective. It's always going to be subjective. I'm less angry about that than I used to be, and I suspect you are too.
Well, let's make it clear that had Tennessee beaten Auburn, they would have been a number one seed.
Right.
Had they gone to overtime with them,
close.
they would have been a number one seed. They got blowed out by 20, so they lost it. So you ask yourself, who is in play for another number one seed?
Right.
Gonzaga is not in play because Gonzaga is a Western team. They want geographical representation. They're not in play. North Carolina is in play. I'm looking around. Who would I think about? And I think the logical team is Michigan State.
Okay. Yes, that was my logical team.
But I did some numbers on this.
Okay.
North Carolina 27-6, Michigan State 28-6, which is better. But in the last 2 months, Mike, Carolina has lost only to Virginia and Duke, who are number one seeds. And as you well know, Michigan State has lost to Purdue, a 3. But Indiana, Illinois, Indiana,
again. I think that conference is better than the other conference.
But these are non-tournament teams. So to me, it's legitimate. The three ACC teams are legit.
You know what? You know what's going to be legit? If they get to the Final Four like the real three Big East teams did back in 1985, then that'll be legit. Let them see them number one.
Yeah.
We know what now, particularly in this era of 3-point hysteria, you can be beaten. Everybody can be beaten.
Well,
everybody in the field we saw last year with Virginia going down. So I'm less agitated. And let's get it on.
I think it's legitimate. Like Virginia is like 29-3.
It's fine. I got no beef with those three teams being number one seeds. None.
Nor do I.
Even though I think another conference is a better conference. Duke, according to the knuckleheads in Las Vegas, is the fave to win it all. The odds makers like Duke as much as they did undefeated Kentucky 4 years ago, but the Wildcats did not win it all that year. Lost to Wisconsin, Big Ten team. The Jahlil Okafor, Justice Winslow Duke team won it. But this Duke team, now that Zion is back and making roadkill of people, is better than that Duke team. Zion's 81 points in 3 ACC tournament games was breathtaking. So let's get to it, Tony. You got anybody beating Duke?
I'm going to get to that. But you said something like under your breath that was the Wisconsin-Kentucky game. Mm-hmm. That's one of the greatest 5 tournament games I have personally ever seen.
Yes,
and Wisconsin had nothing left after that.
They did. That was their tournament game.
Right.
And that's the game we remember.
Yeah,
I had to ask Matt Kelleher who won the tournament that year.
So let me get to this.
Tournament was
Do I see anybody beating Duke? I mean, I accept the fact that Duke can be beaten. But my belief is that unless you see Zion Williamson with both shoes exploding, I think that they are the best team. I'm going to go through a few numbers here. They have only lost 2 games when Williamson is on the floor. Okay. One of them against Syracuse, 2 of their other starters were out in that game. The game that they lost with everybody out there in November to Gonzaga was by 2 points. So with everybody healthy and Williamson, they're 26-1. Now, we've had this discussion in other venues, you and I. And I know you believe that they don't shoot the threes well enough.
It makes them vulnerable.
I know, but I think if you keep shooting 2s the way they shoot them, they're going to win. But you don't.
Well, of course I think Duke can win.
No, but you don't think they will win.
Duke should be favored to win, but my bracket doesn't have that.
I know.
My bracket, the day after St. Patrick's Day, has a team that wears a little green in its uniform. And so in the final
Binghamton?
four,
Because we're not actually in it.
if Binghamton was in a tournament, I would
We're
look
not
like hell
actually-
for Binghamton.
yeah.
I would go in a
We wear some
Bearcat
green.
uniform
That's right.
if Binghamton was in it. I would do that. I got Duke losing to Michigan State in
Right.
the regional final.
Right.
I think Michigan State, I think Tom Izzo's team, I had some time to spend with Tom Izzo during the Big Ten tournament. And I just love when he talked about the tournament and how whimsical it is at times, how he's had great teams that got eliminated early and teams he thought, I don't know, we can do this. And they've gotten to the championship game. So I think he, as much as any coach, including Krzyzewski, Boeheim, that elite group of coaches that takes teams, Bill Self, takes teams to the tournament, deep in the tournament, I like Michigan State.
I'm just gonna say this, and I'm not gonna go very expansive in it. I've watched a lot of college basketball over a lot of years. Zion Williamson, to me, is David Thompson. He's the one absolutely spectacular player. Like when they talk about Reddish and Barrett being number 1 overall or number 2 overall,
You go crazy.
when he's not on the court, they're good. They're not
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
When he's on
They're
the
great.
court,
They're
that's
great.
what makes Duke great,
They're great.
is him. That's all.
David Thompson.
Yeah.
That's
Who's
like-
the most spectacular college
He's
player?
your Willie Mays, David
Well,
Thompson.
in college, in terms of spectacularness,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
All right, Wilbon, let's look at the rest of the field. Let's exempt the ones and the twos.
All right.
Is there a team out there that you think will get to the Final Four from the 3-line or higher? And is there a team you think will win a couple of games that's not on everybody's radar?
Yeah, I got Belmont winning a couple of games, which means I haven't beaten LSU. Could be Yale, but I got them beating LSU. So I got Belmont winning a couple of games. As you know, Tony, I love Murray State and I love John Morant.
Yes.
And I've got Murray State knocking out Florida State. I really didn't
Well,
have
you
the
could- so
guts
first you
to
have them-
Florida State getting knocked out by Vermont. I wanted to have the guts to do that, but I don't have the
So
guts to do
first
that.
you have them beating Marquette.
Yes, I do. And Marquette, who I normally
Is a
root for, a
5
Midwestern
seed.
team.
A 5
They
seed.
struggled a little bit.
At the end, they were terrible,
Yeah.
but they're a 5 seed.
Yeah, but
and then Florida State.
Yes.
Good team.
But in terms, that's still winning a couple of games. The team I have going is the 3 seed to the Final Four.
Yeah.
I have Purdue. I have Purdue in the Final Four.
No coincidence that you were a Big Ten guy.
No.
And you've been saying all year long,
Best,
top
best-
to
top to bottom. Top to bottom.
Okay.
Top to bottom.
Okay. I look around and I don't like to do chalk.
I know.
This year,
It's chalky.
I only think there are 6 teams that can win.
Okay.
And they're all in the 1s and 2s. I've got Duke, Virginia, North Carolina,
Yeah.
Kentucky, Michigan State, Michigan.
You don't even have Gonzaga.
No, and I don't
I
have
do. I got
Tennessee.
the Zags in the Final
I
Four.
don't. No, I don't. Now, there are games I'd like to see. Every year, the tournament committee puts together a couple of things that are
I know
interesting.
one of them.
I would like to
Louisville,
see.
Minnesota.
I want to see that because I want to see if Rick Pitino sits on the bench with Richard Pitino
no.
and taunts
He
his
can't
former
do that.
players.
He can't do
If
that.
Arizona State wins a play-in game, they play Buffalo. So Bobby Hurley could coach against all the players
That's
that he
right.
recruited.
That's
And then
right.
we have Auburn and Kansas, that possibility that I like to call the wiretap bowl. And I think that would be
Very
interesting.
good.
So I have those.
There's a game I want to see, which nobody else cares about. I want to see Wofford and Kentucky. It's a second round game. There's some. I think we're over.
See, I don't know about Wofford or Buffalo or Nevada. I don't
you know
know.
what? When a team wins 30,
Cal Irvine.
Cal Irvine
New
with Doc
Mexico
Rivers' son. I'm
State.
rooting for them.
You know, I don't know.
But there's some interesting stuff.
I'm just saying that for me,
a fewer number of teams can win than usual.
this is the year.
I'm chalky.
'Cause, yeah,
Very chalky.
I get,
If Purdue is a 3, that's as low as I'm
Yeah,
going
yeah.
for getting to the Final Four. We got to talk a little bit, Tony, about the big boys, specifically the Milwaukee Bucks, for whom it's been smooth as glass sailing until Friday. We'll get back to that. Yesterday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, say it with me.
Antetokounmpo.
You're getting so much better at this. Scored a career-high 52 at home, no less. But his Bucks still lost to the 76ers. Note, Joel Embiid had 40 himself, and the Sixers are 4-0 since he returned to the lineup. But Tony, top-seeded Milwaukee and Antetokounmpo should feel what exactly coming out of this weekend?
They should feel terrible. Malcolm Brogdon's hurt. Yeah. They should feel terrible. Now, I don't know how long he's going to be out. Antetokounmpo is a great player. He had 52.
He's not out for the season unless they were to lose in the first round.
He had 52. You don't know how healthy he comes back when he comes back. Antetokounmpo had 52 and 17, and Embiid had 40 and 15, and they're great players. But if I am Boston, if I am Toronto, if I'm anybody other than Kyrie Irving, who's miserable all the time, but if I'm looking for something to make me feel a little bit more optimistic, Brogdon is a really good player, and I think that hurts Milwaukee tremendous. It's a late season injury.
Yeah, with Bledsoe and Brogdon, I mean, they have a nice ensemble around Antetokounmpo, and they play so well together.
You love Brogdon, though.
I love. Brogdon's on a list with the likes of Steve Nash and Steph Curry, a list of players fewer than 10, maybe about 10, in the history of basketball who've already had, or I guess he's on pace, who have 50, 40, 90 seasons, 90 at the foul line, 40 from three, and 50 from overall. You don't think of Malcolm Brogdon, not yet anyway, as an elite player, but Tony.
But he's important to the team.
He is so tremendously important to that team. I think he's their second most important player.
I'm not sure Philadelphia has everything, all the psychological and physical components to win, but I think that Boston and Toronto can, and if this takes Milwaukee out of play.
Right.
You sound a little more optimistic than most.
About Brogdon?
Yes.
If we're talking 6 weeks, and that's a possibility, not a crazy one. Not a Reggie White back by Sunday after knee surgery. We're not talking about that.
Right.
So if Brogdon can get back by the end of the first round, look, first round they're going to go 1-8. And the 8 is Brooklyn or Miami or Orlando or yeah. So Milwaukee's going to win that series. But then you got to have him back for the second round, Tony, because then you could get the number 4 seed, which could be Philly or Boston.
Can I go back to the NCAAs for a second? Because I think Michigan State got hosed in one regard. You say you think they're going to beat Duke. I don't think they should have to play Duke to get to the Final
Four.
At some point. They beat Michigan 3 times. Michigan only has to beat Gonzaga. I don't think that's fair.
You know what? Virginia had this happen 2 years in a row.
Let's take a break. Coming up, does LeBron deserve the blame for the Lakers' latest loss?
Are we still talking about the Lakers?
Yes.
So why?
Yes.
And is John Elway right that Joe Flacco is entering his prime? Entering.
Well, at 34.
Does John need is there a metric for this?
John needs to ask himself, what am I doing here? That's what he needs to do.
Pardon the Interruption is brought to you by Century 21. The only moves anyone remembers are the relentless ones. Relentless moves.
With Advil.
Deliver extraordinary answers. Let me see what is first
I think
here.
your questions are smart.
Should we pin the Lakers' loss to the Knicks on LeBron and his lousy fourth quarter?
Okay, I'm going off-road here, off schedule, as they say now in somebody's booth. I don't care about the Lakers anymore. The Lakers are done. So let's stop talking about the Lakers on this show, okay? It doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter where LeBron sits. It doesn't matter where Rondo sits. It doesn't matter if they go and they sit in a bar with Jack Nicholson. It's over for the Lakers, okay? Nothing they do matters until free agency starts and somebody calls Irvin Johnson and says, hey, I want to come there. Until then, LeBron could polish his nails on the bench, and I don't care, and you shouldn't care, and nobody who's watching basketball should give a damn.
So I could not feel more opposite in this regard.
I know.
Because I think the nature of this question speaks to how large a persona LeBron is now and has been since the day he got into the league.
Say that.
So that when you look at LeBron James, you exaggerate his talents when he wins, and now he's getting blamed for garbage.
Yeah.
Blaming him is unbelievably stupid. But we work for a LeBron-centric network.
Let's go back to the comments. They were put out there by a guy we both love and you know.
Walt Frazier.
How did you feel hearing a guy that you know well and you respect go after LeBron a little bit?
My sense of this is that it shows how big LeBron is and how exaggerated every part of it is.
Tired of it a little bit?
No. The biggest story so far in the NBA is him not making the playoffs.
I've moved on.
Well, good for you, but the rest of us are still waiting.
Is Ryan Fitzpatrick an upgrade over Ryan Tannehill? Too many Ryans.
Yes,
two Ryans in that sentence I also don't care about.
This is the only Ryan for Ryan quarterback move so far, unless Matt Ryan somehow gets involved. I don't care about the question in this regard. Tannehill stinks, but Ryan Fitzpatrick is a statistical dream. I've got 2 numbers here that are fabulous.
What?
As soon as he throws his first pass for the Dolphins, he'll be the only quarterback in NFL history to throw passes for 8 different teams. And if he starts 14 games and they don't make the playoffs, and they're not going to make the playoffs because they're not any good, he will be he will have started more games at quarterback than anyone in NFL history and not make the playoffs. He'll surpass Archie Manning, who was on very, very bad teams, but one team. New Orleans.
Yeah.
This guy's played everywhere and doesn't make the playoffs.
We need 7 more seconds on you slurping some kid from Harvard. You got him?
I saw him in college, and I really liked him.
Whoa,
I saw
there
him,
we go.
I saw him at Franklin
out on
Field.
cue.
At Franklin
Let's
Field
give
when
it-
they beat Penn.
You know, the viewers are ticking me off because they've given us nothing so far.
Are you with John Elway that Joe Flacco is just coming into his prime?
No, and for this, we won't criticize the emailer. We can criticize John Elway. What are you talking about? 34 years old is not just coming into your prime. Even maybe John Elway thinks because he won 2 at 37 and 38 or whatever it was that people are just entering their prime. No, a quarterback's prime now is probably 25 and you're coming into your prime. And so no, Flacco is years beyond 2 or 3. Now, I think Flacco can have a couple of more, maybe a third good year. And so I'm okay with the acquisition.
Me too. No, me too. I think looking at Tom Brady changes everything in everybody's mind and how well he plays at his particular age. Flacco always threw a great deep ball. In Denver, he could maybe throw it 70 yards in the air because of the thin air, and he could do something like that. No, he's not particularly coming into his prime. The larger question here is, John Elway, what do you know about quarterbacks that you seem to have forgotten? Because since Peyton Manning retired, there's a revolving door there with quarterbacks.
Not that many great quarterbacks available. So you may make some errors. You know what? John Elway ain't walking through that door. Not the one with number 7.
He's better than all the quarterbacks he's had.
All of them combined.
Now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Bigger deal from the TPC, and I know you watched.
I did.
You were playing golf. You weren't watching.
I was watching.
Some of us real fans were watching. Tiger feeling that he is right on track or Rory winning?
Okay, so this is an absurd question in this regard. It is wonderful that Tiger shot 69 yesterday, his only round in the 60s.
That's right.
in the Players. It is wonderful that he putted better yesterday than he has putted in a while.
Right.
And it is fine for him to say he is right on track. But Rory McIlroy won that tournament, and he won it on a Sunday where he has failed recently.
0-for-7.
He birdied 15, he birdied 16, he stuck it on the island on 17, and then he hit driver on 18, which was criticized in the booth. He's the best driver. The best driver on tour is Rory McIlroy, and again, he won on Sunday. Let me give you this.
It's important that Rory won.
Yes, let me give you these. In his last 5 tournaments, here are his finishes: 1, 6, 2, 4, 5. Let me know when Tiger does that.
Listen, he's been great this year. I'm glad Rory, if this constitutes being back, as you always put out, not a major, but he's back, then fine. And Tiger, I'm fine with what Tiger did, because the day he's put one in the water, that seems insane. It seems like a decent enough shot. But let me get to you.
He put more than one in the water in 17.
Well, he put 2 in the water. Let me get to you personally.
Yeah.
Because for years, I've said, I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch every stroke of this. It's overrated, it's nothing. You're crazy.
Oh, no,
this is the best field. Every single person is in it. There's no DNP. There's no resting because of back-to-backs. Every year you put down this tournament, and every year you are wrong. It is the hardest golf course. It's harder than a lot of the places the PGA has played, and you trash it. Why?
I don't trash it. I don't think it is a major. If they want to make it a major, kick somebody else out.
Not a major.
And I think that course is a punitive course and not necessarily a fair course.
It's punitive. That makes it harder.
I think there's
you should respect punitive more.
I respect the fact that they win it, but it's not. I'm just saying it's not a major.
Stop.
Enough email.
Stop.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, another fresh start in the career of your boy, Johnny Manziel.
And the Warriors learn more about the status of DeMarcus Boogie Cousins.
He's angry all the time, too.
Yeah, but he's fake angry. I like talking to him. He's kind of cool.
What happened to him? Something happened to him?
Let me get this straight. After a long day of hard work, you have to do more work?
Automatically sort your expenses.
Lower calories, higher expectations. Corona Premier. Enjoy the view.
Happy time. People, happy 28th birthday, JT Real Muto. Real Muto is the last of the great Marlins players to be able to escape Jeter Island. Real Muto was an all-star catcher in Miami last year. Now the catcher of the Philadelphia Phillies, who've also added Bryce Harper, Andrew McCutchen, and shortstop Gene Segura. The Marlins have added nobody because to do that would cost money.
We almost had melancholy happy trails to Bryce Harper after getting hit in the ankle in '96.
Why are you doing that?
So the Phillies dodged one there.
Why are you doing that? Happy anniversary, Vermont. On this day 14 years ago, the 13th seeded Vermont Catamounts upset the 4th seeded Syracuse Orange in overtime. The big shot was a 3 from about 30 feet by TJ Sorrentine. Vermont is back in the tournament as a 13. Will play number 4 Florida State. Beating Syracuse was the biggest win ever from My America East until UMBC beat Virginia last year.
I wish I had the stones to predict
that Vermont
over Florida State, because that's how I feel. I might go back and Erase that bracket area.
Happy trails, NC State. The 22-11 Wolfpack are at the epicenter of this year's whining about being the team that was snubbed by the NCAA. In the words of Michael Wilbon, shut up.
That's right.
You had the worst, softest non-conference schedule of any big-time team in the country, and you were 9-9 in league. So again,
one more
shut
time.
up.
Shut up. Don't want to hear any whining. Look, I wanted Indiana at the beginning to be in, but they
lost
didn't
too many
earn their
games.
way in. Stop.
Quick to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Carlos Santana of the Phillies smashed the clubhouse TV with his bat last season because he thought teammates were playing too much Fortnite. You condone that?
Yes, and worse. That could be a whole topic for this show, Fortnite. Johnny Manziel signed with Memphis of the AF and is immediately eligible to play. Your expectations?
Honestly, I don't have any anymore. Sam.
Wow.
Elodie Nada announced his retirement from the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro. Your thoughts?
He can and should get Hall of Fame votes. Elodie Nada. I mean, I know Ray Lewis and T. Sizzle were there, but so was he. The Bengals released linebacker Vontaze Burfict. You surprised at that?
No, there's too many penalties. There's too many. Last one, Boogie Cousins is out tonight with a sore foot. Is that a big deal?
Look, it's a big deal because the MRI came back clean. But he was out there in an old-fashioned unit without Kevin Durant, who's back tonight, and the Warriors look good again.
We're out of time. We'll try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. We got March Madness coming up for real.